We look at Al here. He's got a pretty good setup. He's a little narrow. He plays a little tight. And also, I'd like to see a little more tilt away from the target line. I'd like to see his shoulders back about on this line right here, so he's further behind the ball. He's a little too upright here. So let's go ahead and play the swing through one time from here. And you can see why at fast speed it's really hard to see anything, because it looks like he's finished pretty well. You can see that his butt should be tucked under him a little bit. By that I mean this should be moved forward that way a little bit. But it looks okay when you look at the finish like that. If this was just a snapshot of the swing, most people would think that he got a pretty good rotation and a good weight shift. But let's back it up to the start line, and then we'll play it through step by step here. And we can see the sequence of events have a lot to do with how successful our swing really is. Let's start it back nice and easy. Takeaway looks good, low and slow. I think it's very important to get that low, slow takeaway. Look how low the head of the club still is. He's creating some nice width. That's something he's been working on. But you can see the shoulders still aren't turning around. His trail shoulder isn't getting behind him very much. Then he starts to collapse. The reason the lead arm collapses is because the trail arm is overbending. I think we're going to work next week on getting him to go to a 90-degree bend with his right arm. That'll keep the club longer, and it'll also maybe encourage him to get a little bit more turn, get his back more to the target than it is there. So right now he's really narrowed up his swing. Then as he starts back down, he just sort of gets in place and then lifts. There's no real energy going towards the target. We don't see power being delivered on the lower part of the body to the swing. He's staying pretty stationary, kind of comes up and out of the swing and lifts up. The reason he's lifting so much is because the hand never got from underneath the golf club to on top of the golf club. We'd actually like to see the trail hand, the right hand, get on top, but he never does. It's never on top. Notice how it's not quite rotating. So we're going to get him to rotate through and keep a little more width in the backswing by not folding the right arm as much. Here we're going to watch a swing in super slow motion. The camera doesn't focus very well in super slow motion, apparently. But let's watch this and see what happens. Nice, smooth takeaway. Nice width there. See that little move he did right there? That's actually a pretty good move. Where he's back here, and then he extends his arms out away from his body a little further. I like that move. But here's what happens. See what he's doing here? He's pulling his left hip up, and he's coming off his front leg onto his back leg. So he hasn't transferred any lower body weight forward. Great extension of the arms. Now at this point here, I'd like to see the right hand more on top of the golf club, is still underneath. We talk a lot about rotation. We're just not seeing any rotation of the golf club, of the lead and trail forearms, and of the right knee moving to the left knee. We need to see more action here so that he ends up completely on the front side. Take a look at that foot. See how it's off the ground? That tells you there's no weight on it. When he's done, ideally, his whole body should be lined up on that line right there. And he's not. Lack of power because we're lack of motion onto the front side or momentum. Okay, we're going to watch a down the line swing here. Looking at the setup here, there's a couple things we can notice right away. Is that he has a tendency to set up with his shoulders way to the left. We've got to work on that a little bit, get him settled in a little bit better. Notice you can see that his left leg is behind his right leg. And his target, he says, is that tree right there. So he's aimed kind of a little left of that with his upper body. Let's watch this swing and, let's put it fairly slow. Watch what goes on. He's taking it back kind of smooth. Step by step, you can see the motion here. We're going to go ahead and draw a line in on his spine. And you can see the right leg is already starting to twist, tighten up a little bit. Now the club right about here is way too steep. We need to get the club swinging back under the original swing plane, not way on top of it. So he's lifting the club off the ground. So what I'll do is I'll take in a white line here. We'll just draw the white line right up the shaft here. Now watch how he comes way above it. He's lifting that club up off the ground. Now at this point here, he's so steep that he's going to come down and kind of slam the club into the ground. He's going to dive down with his body. Club's going to stay way outside, so a big cut's going to happen if you make good contact. Notice the shaft is bending and the face is wide open. I'm going to get everything out of the way so you can make a good view. See how the club is open. Now he's closing it. He just catches the top of the ball and pulls his elbow way into the inside. What we have to do is find a way for him to swing and get the club parallel to the trail arm. So we'd want the club at this point right here. We want the club pointing on a line about like that, the same distance but parallel from where he was at setup. Now we take a look. We'll go back to the setup position. Almost parallel. I free-handed that in there. That wasn't too far off. So what we want to do is we're actually going to move it out about this far. So we'd like that club to get parallel to that line quickly, and it's way above it. That's what's causing him to catch it thin, hit it on top of the ball, and never be able to rotate through to the other side. Good finish. You know, I like to see both feet on the ground more than up on the toes. I'd like to see him obviously be able to rotate that right leg around, but don't want him up on the toes. Looking at this setup position, we see this golfer's a little too flexed. The knees are bent too far. We only need the knees unlocked. Then the back can be on a nice straight plane instead of curved, and we'd like to see the back at about 90 degrees to the golf shaft plane. So she'd have to bend forward that much. Now she would do that easily if you just straighten your legs a little bit and then bent more at the hips instead of at the waist. Then the hands would be hanging down a little freer and more under the chin instead of out as far as they are. So let's watch the takeaway here. Now we're going to go ahead and play this. That's a pretty nice takeaway. Gets herself to a really nice position right there, then collapses everything. But she creates great club lag, rotates right on through, but hits the ball off to the right. And she's always upset about that. I keep telling my students that the first thing we want to learn how to do is move the club correctly. The second thing we learn how to do is make contact. And the third thing we learn how to do is make the ball go in the direction we want it to go. And lastly, we actually learn how to hit it a greater distance. She's catching this ball, clear this out of the way, in on the hosel. You can see how inside it is. If we blow this up right now, you can see that the club is going to be hitting the ball open-faced near the hosel. And that's what's causing it to scoot off to the right. That's a minor adjustment. I like the fact she's hitting off the lie board. She touches the lie board, you can see the bounce, gets the ball up in the air. A little more practice, a little more time in the dirt, she's going to be pretty good. We're going to work a little bit more on the setup, but one of the things we do like is how quiet she stays. Check that out. Look at the extension she's getting down the line. The head is still looking where the ball was, right up to a nice finish. Look at the rotation of the lower body and the legs. Very nicely done. Joe here is one of our single plane swingers, but he's always dropping his hands back down to the two plane position. What we need to get is we need to get him to set that golf club running up on this line right there. See, it's way too flat. And he's starting from a position where it's going to be very difficult for him to win. He's also bending at the waist, not at the hips. If we, again, straighten the legs a little bit and got the hip tilt a little bit more that direction instead of so flat, he's going to be in a better place. We'll get rid of that last line. We'll just watch the swing now. We're going to watch it in super slow. It's going back. Little rotation of the hands there. We don't want to see any rotation of the hands on the way back. So he's opening the club face. Now he's got to re-manipulate the club on the way down. Hands are about where they should be. If he was on a one-plane setup, brings it right back down the line nicely. Rotates the club. Leaves it a little bit open, so hits it a little bit to the right. But a nice ball flight and a pretty nice swing. So we're going to work a little bit more on the setup. Notice how the club is still parallel to what should have been his single plane setup, and the white line is running right through the middle of his back. Nice job, Joe. One of the practice drills I ask a lot of my students to do is learn how to set up with a straight back. You should be able to lay a golf shaft down your spine and keep your head against the golf shaft and the golf shaft against your butt or your belt line. You can see he's got a lot of rotation, roundness at the top here, and we'd like to get rid of that. I'd like to see this go away. So his head could be up, he'd be in a more comfortable position, and he would gain some power. When our spine or our axle is bent, we have a more difficult time rotating around it. Makes sense, doesn't it? So let's take a look and see how he does here. We're going to play it back. Little lifting going on, a lot more lifting going on, and that's probably because he's out of position to start with. Now his spine, he's finally got his head up to where his spine was. You see how he's got his head up where the line is? I think if he'd have started up higher, he'd have been better off. You can see how far he's had to move his butt away from the bottom of his swing plane. That's that area right here. Moved it away. Now we're going to continue on with the swing. Now he's going to come way out over the top, hits down on it with a slicing motion, gets it nice and square on the club face, and hits a pretty good shot. The problem is, when you have that much movement going on, it's very, very difficult to get it timed every single swing. So we can get him to stay, or well, actually we can get him to start out where he is there. I want him to start on that line right there. I'm going to clear everything out of the way, and we're going to draw the line up. Whoops, that's not a line. Let's clear that out of the way. We're going to draw the line up. That's a nice straight line. If he stayed on that line, he'd be in a great position. Didn't get down too far. Head stayed pretty good. You can see he's straighter now than he was then. Right on through. Head stays back pretty good. Following the ball. I like to see more rotation of the right leg. That's always one of my pet peeves. People really have a hard time using the biggest muscle group they have, which is this group of muscles right here. Your abs, your glutes, and your thighs. Let's use them to swing with. Swing the club by rotating your body, not by just flailing your arms at it. Here we have one of our newest changeovers from the two-plane swing to the single-plane setup. One of the things we like here is that we can see the lead arm above the trail arm, the lead leg forward of the trail leg, a nice tilt, and a little air I can see between the upper arm and the lower arm, the front arm and the back arm. Let's see if he stays on the plane. We'll take it back nice and easy here. A lot of movement of the body. See that? Let's go back a bit. Notice that when he takes it back, the first thing he does is he starts to raise up his body. We don't want to see that. What we want to do is we want the club to go back low and slow, and it's giving up too fast. The nice thing about it is he is taking it back to the inside, and he's probably going to hit a perfect set point here on plane, right there. That's pretty nice. That's putting the club, and now obviously it's a little high, the head's a little high, but he's in a really good position here, and he's really loaded up on the back legs. Now let's watch him come back down. Yeah, right under. Hands are right there. Coming on through. Catches it just a hair on the toe. So he doesn't quite get it as solid as he'd like. It follows through nicely. He's really come a long way with a single plane swing. He told me the other day that he played golf and didn't lose any golf balls, and that was kind of new to him. I think that's fun about the single plane swing, is how nice and straight it does it, because we're just on the line, down the line, all the time. Look at the rotation you got on the club face too, right here. Bang. See that right there? Really rotating. Look at the extension he's got down the line too. Very nice. Every once in a while, Denny will think that he's sliding, he's lifting his head, but really what he's doing is sliding a little bit forward, so it feels like you're lifting, but you did a nice job. One of the things we notice in this setup is how level the belt is. Nice to see the belt moving down towards the golf ball a little bit. His is way too level up there like that. That's caused by bending at the waist, not at the hips. We've got to bend forward at the hips. The hips are down lower under the belt line. It gets our butt out and up and lets us square our shoulders to our back. You can see that he's got a fairly rounded off spine angle there. So we need to get that straightened up. That's going to make a big difference in the longevity of his game, how long he can keep playing. He's going to put a lot less strain on his back. We'd like the shoulders to be back, and we'd like the forward tilt. at about 45 degrees. And that would look, from where he is now, we'll draw a line straight down to his butt. I didn't get that very close, so let's try it again. Straight down to his butt, that's better. And we'll go up along the spine. So instead of 45 degrees, he's at 25 degrees. So we needed quite a bit more tilt. Now he thinks he's tilted forward because his head is down. But if his head was back, he'd be straight up and down and be in an awkward position. That's going to make it more difficult for him to create a nice, smooth transition on his takeaway. We'll draw the swing plane in. We'll bisect his back here. Go right up the line. There's the swing plane. Let's see what he does here. He's raising up. That's because he's uncomfortable. He's going to raise up on his toes. See that? You see the raising going on of his body. He's totally lost his spine angle now. His butt's moved way inside towards the golf ball. And now he's going to create this major over-the-top move. See that right there? What we need to be able to do is, from here, go back down. Not out and around. That's creating a glancing blow and is robbing power and chances of creating a big slice or a pull hook. Here's another new conversion to the single plane setup. Notice you can see the golf shaft runs straight up to the lead armpit. We just draw a line in here. And there, straight up. Ideally, what we'd like to see is his hands past that point, well past that point of impact. The club is 7 or 8 inches behind the ball like it's supposed to be. We're going to go ahead and play this in a nice, easy, slow motion. We watch it bit by bit. It's already a very fast swing. I mean, a very slow swing because I slowed it down on the camera. You can see it take away there, piece by piece. He's staying pretty still. What we really want him to do is face the ball at impact, keep his feet on the ground, not do a whole lot of messing around here. You can see how steady he's staying here. He generally had a tendency to bounce up and down when he was doing the 2-plane swing. You can see he stayed pretty quiet here. Now, the one thing I want to see the barrel or the handle of the grip pointing towards the camera at this point. It's too straight up and down. So he's not able to get a throwing away kind of a sensation with the club. Little pause there at the top. Notice that he's got this vertical drop happening really nicely. Mo Norman talked about that a lot, the vertical drop. Losing a little club lag there, that's probably tension. Notice his head is staying back very nicely. I think the hands are going to pass the red line well before impact. Look at that. Very nice. Rotates the club through. Solid impact. Look at the extension down the line. Pretty good. His head's following a little bit. That's because he's trying so hard to keep his feet on the ground. We're going to let him rotate his hips a little bit more than that, so he ends up in a little more comfortable position. But the reality of it is, if he makes this kind of contact every time, he's going to have fun golfing. See that? I mean, that's a pretty nice, right there. That's a nice, smooth swing. We're going to work on the finish later. Joe's got a lot of good things going on here with his single plane swing. One of the things I would rather him do would have the club a little further back on setup so he has a little forward press. Now the swing itself is good right up till the moment of impact when he doesn't turn the back of his lead hand to the ground. Instead, the back of the hand comes up, see right there, up to the air, and he scoops it. I'm going to back it up here a little bit. We're going to bring that last little bit of the swing in super slow motion so you can see it. What we need to be able to do is turn the black stripe of his glove, you see it right there, towards the ground on the way down. Starts, and then it comes right back up. You can see how it's coming up and is scooping right there. At that point right now, both arms should be extended. We should have a nice long triangle, and I should see the fingers of the lead glove. I can't even hardly see the back of the trail glove. We need to get that turning over so he's got some width there. Look how close to his body the club is there, and look how far away it is there. It's got to be the same on both sides. Got to get that extension or you're robbing power and losing distance. Here we have a really good golfer. He's frustrating a little bit. He's frustrated a little bit because he really wants to be perfect. And I don't think there's any golfer out there that's perfect. But he's got a great swing. And we're going to highlight a spot on his swing about 3/4 of the way back to the ball that we're going to look at and see if we can get every golfer to emulate that comes through the Turn Academy. So what we're going to do is we'll just draw in our swing plane here. We're going to start the swing back manually here. Just drag it back a little bit. Hands get a little high, and he does lift a little bit. We're going to keep him from lifting if we can. But watch what he does here. He's going to drop the club down into the slot. Notice how the club is behind him. That's very important. Now we're hitting the 3/4 spot right about there, and you can see daylight between his arms. I can't tell you how many times my students, I can't see that. And we've got the head of the club inside the power line, or inside the plane line, so he can really rotate the club over, throw it out away from him. Now, notice how quick he rotates the hands there. Really powers through the ball. Look at that launch. Look at the finish. That finish is created by that position he's able to get into right there. That's why Mo Norman created the single plane swing. It's because all golfers that are any good ended up in a single plane setup as they approach the ball anyway. And that's what I mean by this line right there. Single plane. Right on through to the finish. Good finish. We're going here at DB. One thing we got going on here is she's got a reverse press. The club shaft needs to be leaning forward at setup. We don't want a cupping in the lead hand. You look at that there. You can see how it's bent. We would like to see a straight line down that lead arm. So it comes straight. That would mean the club shaft should be about here. Little forward press. Now you can do that right before you swing. I think it's better to do it early in your setup so you feel comfortable and you're ready to go. But let's see if she does do a little forward press. She's been working on something like that. So we're going to take the club back nice and slow. No forward press. So she's setting herself up to scoop. And it's going to make it hard for her to get back and get the club set at the top of her backswing. So she's still kind of in an awkward position here. The one thing she's been working on a lot, though, is keeping her head still. A little movement here, but not nearly as much as before. Now she's going to come back to the impact spot and gets back to that cupping situation. See how the lead arm is bent at the wrist? We want that club shaft to be there and then just rotate over. So she's got width again. We talk about width all the time. Not very wide there, pretty wide there. I want you more than pretty wide there. I want you even longer. I'm going to work on that so she can get her power back and get where she wants to go. The other day she played golf for the first time in a long time, had a really good time. She said she had almost everything in the fairway. Very nice.